Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beach Boss Influencers Podcast. I'm Adrienne Lindeen, one of the beaches here, and I'm joined with Kat, Fran, and Carrie. And today, for those who are joining us, hello and welcome. We help entrepreneurs, network marketers build their business on social, leveraging the internet and automation because it's an incredible tool. It does all the heavy lifting for you. But anyways, today we wanted to chat about reclaiming your future starting today. How many of you that are listening, maybe you personally might not have done this, maybe you have, maybe you've been around others, right? Where you constantly are living in your past, right? Or you are blaming yourself, or you have guilt around bad decisions or failures or, stuff like that. And how many of you have kind of like let it creep in and hinder like your path forward? I know that, there's probably lots who are listening. But we want to share with you kind of like, how do you hack that? And like, let's just cut it off from the knees, because man, you can't go through life for 100 years just constantly punishing yourself for things that happened in the past that we have no control over, right? So we want to share with you some hacks, some things that you can do to eliminate that so that you can fly, my friends. You can fly, you can persevere, you can succeed in whatever it is that you set your mind to do.
Recovering people pleaser here. Anybody if you're a people pleaser, maybe you're a recovering people pleaser like myself. There were times, and even still today, I can't say that I don't do it, but like I'll be laying there trying to go to sleep, and then I'll think of something that I did in high school or something that I did like 20 years ago to someone. And like Adrienne just said, like it eats me alive. And first off, I'm a person that like if anybody else has ever done ill to me, like, I'm always, like, giving that person grace, right? Like, I give them grace. I accept them for who they are, but for some reason, it's so hard for me to accept the wrong that I've done in the past. And if you can relate to that, let us know in the comments, depending on where you're watching from. And so something that there's a couple things that happened in years ago that I felt bad about for so long, and it was eating me up long enough. I knew that I had to do something about it. And I'm not saying that this is what you have to do. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying if it's wrong. Good, bad, it doesn't matter. But I actually went to those people and apologized. And what's really funny is, I can think of 3 instances where, like, the second I saw that person, it had happened years ago. I went up to them. I was like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I'm sorry for what I did. The funny thing is they didn't even remember. So here I was, like, letting it consume me and eat me up. I did what I felt like I needed to do to make it right. And they were like, I didn't even remember you did that. Like, and then there was one person in particular that, she did remember, and she started crying because she was like, I've never had anyone like apologize to me for something like that before. But, it's just when you've done maybe wrong, or you didn't act the way that you thought that maybe you should have, or maybe you've put your foot in your mouth. I've done that more times than I can count. It's amazing what a simple apology to some of those people will do, and how it can mend things that maybe they're not even broken. Maybe they don't even remember, but for you, it can help bring you peace.
I'm sure I've shared this before, where I actually apologized to my father a few years ago. I was a horse rider and had a really nasty accident when I was 17, cross-country jumping, and rode into a tree. It was going from light into dark. I can still see it right now. And my horse injured his shoulder really badly. I mean, my face was smashed up. I was a mess too, but he never healed from it. He was lame. My father went to a homeopath and tried all kinds of homeopathic homeopathic treatment and like stimulating the muscle, and nothing ever worked. And eventually he was put down. But I was riding him, and your horse will go where you tell your horse to go. And so I pointed him at the tree because it was going from light into dark and I couldn't see where I was going. And it was this jump on a bend like this, and there was a tree in the middle. And I literally rode straight into the tree and I said, jump. And he jumped because he listened to me. Yeah, I still feel guilty about that. He was the most amazing horse. Amazing, amazing, beautiful horse. When my father was treating him, and he used to go treat him like a couple of times a day with this, like putting sort of electrodes on his muscle to try and stimulate the muscle to heal, and it didn't work. But I never once helped him. Not once. I had so much guilt. I couldn't look at my horse. I felt like I'd let him down. I had let my father down. My father was so proud of me. Like I was doing well. I mean, I was crushing it. I was doing well, and I never helped him. Not once. It was a few years ago. And I said, Dad, I just need to say I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry I never helped you. And he said, I've never even thought about it. He said, I've never even thought about it. So it's not only asking other people for forgiveness. I think it's more important to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's where the healing comes from, is actually forgiving yourself for mistakes that you've made. Because they're just mistakes. And we all make mistakes all the time. But the only way that we move on is by saying, hey, I'm only human. I made a mistake. You're okay. Like, you forgive yourself and move on. And love yourself enough to forgive yourself. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're sorry to yourself for beating yourself up all those years for something that was a mistake. And shit happens and mistakes happen.
And that's what it is, really. We hold on to shame and we hold on to guilt, and it's us that's holding on to this, because just from listening to you and Carrie, like, you went back to make amends, like, for yourself, right? And they're like, I don't even remember. Like, oh, I wasn't even thinking about it, because we are holding on to the past. We're holding on to those moments. We're replaying those stories over and over in our brain. We're carrying them along the journey.
Sometimes just saying I'm sorry is enough for them to say, like, I hadn't even thought about it. And maybe they had thought about it, but just by you saying I'm sorry is they're forgiving you too.
And what's interesting is when those two words, I'm sorry, in getting a I'm sorry from someone, I've been apologized to from people, right? People have come to me and they've apologized to me for things that have happened. And it's funny how when the apology comes, whether you're the one giving it or you're the one receiving it, it rewrites the feelings that you have around whatever that situation was that brought the apology, right? Like when people
It
have apologized,
resets the energy.
it resets the energy to where it's almost like it's like that. It gives you that release. It releases the guilt, the shame, the blame, whatever may have been there, and you're able to move forward. And there's going to be times in your life, there's going to be things that happen because people have their agency. There's other people that are going to do you wrong. By accepting what is and knowing you may never get an apology, it's still the release of the energy.
And here it is. It's if you listen, because, like, okay, so people are listening and they're like, I don't even know how to get a hold of that person to apologize. What you're doing is you're giving yourself permission to close the door and forgiving yourself. That's what it really is about, right? Like, it's forgiving yourself or forgiving someone else who's done wrong to you, right? Forgiveness, right? God talks about it. Like, it is the release. Forgive yourself or forgive others who you're harboring, all the emotion about, because you can't control them. You can't control whatever, but you can control the energy that you're putting towards holding on to that negativity, holding on to that guilt.
I want to give you a powerful practice to do. If there's something that you're holding on to, if there is something, like, for example, like Adrian said, if you don't know how to get hold of these people, like something happened in the past, or maybe they're not even with us anymore. Okay. But you're still holding on to it. and you haven't forgiven yourself yet fully, is to write a letter to them saying, I'm sorry. And then you can burn it. You let it go.
And it's actually, yeah. And the trick is, although those people will never get the letter, right, and know how you feel and whatever, but what it does, the same, it releases that energy that you holding on to, regret, the guilt, the shame, even anxiety, and all of the things. Releasing that energy and giving you like that fresh start. You're going to feel like a huge rock fell off your shoulders, right? And suddenly, once you let go of that, you will feel like you have new energy, new inspiration. You can fill it with something, whatever you want to, right? With the new beginning and start fresh. So that's basically what it does. And we spend so much time wasting our energy on things that we can't control. And I think me and Fran did the whole episode on how we waste our energy. And this was one of the biggest things. We waste our energy on things that we can't control. And our past is one of the things that it happened, and there's no way to change that. But I'm going to challenge that thought. How many of you guys think that there is no way you can change your past? I would say that was me with two hands up. Not very long time ago. Past is past. It happened. You cannot change it, right? But what actually we remember about the past is not actually what exactly happened, but what we meant it mean, what we made it mean to us. And the proof of that, you will ask two people who witnessed the same thing. And like Carrie said, she had to go apologize to a person, and they're like, I don't remember. So although that thing happened, Carrie didn't make it up, right? Her mind and soul registered it one way because she had her feelings about it and experience. So her brain and soul recorded a certain experience that made her feel certain way. That other person's brain didn't even record the event into their memory because it wasn't important to them. Then they didn't make it mean anything, and it was gone, right? So the point is not what happened to you, it's what you make it mean. And we make these stories based on, our actually based on what lesson we need to learn. Like your soul has a purpose to learn lessons and it will make you feel certain way. So you just learn that lesson, whatever it is, right? For some people, they need to learn how to apologize. For some people, they need to learn how to be humble, how to put their ego aside and see, consequences of their actions, whatever it is. So now you might think, well, there's a story that's holding me hostage, right? And I think about it so much and I regret it so much. If I could go back and change it, I would, but I can't. Now I'm going to tell you that you can't. All you have to do is just go back and rewrite that story. Rewrite the meaning of that story. And when Fran was telling about the horse, how unfortunate, right, it was. And I could feel all the guilt that Fran carried throughout her entire life. And it's a mistake in her mind that she made, that she couldn't forgive herself. But what if I told you, whatever happens to us, good or bad, it's never a mistake. Everything that happens to us happens for a reason, either so we learn a lesson and the horse paid for that lesson, right? Kind of. We think that it could have happened because it prevented you from being somewhere else. Like maybe the horse ran somewhere and I don't know, something bad or something good happened. Maybe you would have met a person that led to another experience and your life wouldn't be even the way it is right now. Just because, So everything happens for a reason. Although it seems like unfortunate in the moment, when you try to take a big picture of that experience, you will understand the wisdom and the purpose of it, and you will understand there's nothing to apologize for, sort of. There's nothing to forgive. And actually, ironically, 2 days ago, I was recording a practice from, it's called From Victim to Victory, how to let go of, guilt and shame that we carry. And yeah, it's about that there's nothing to forgive. Every experience is here for a reason. And we need to find a gratitude for that experience, whether you are the villain in that story or the victim, right? Once you find gratitude for that story, you will instantly understand the purpose of that event. It's like, and that will instantly release that negative energy that holds you a hostage. And once you release that energy, like, it means you rewrote that story. You assign it a different meaning, right? Just like with friend, I assign a different meaning to that story. It meant to happen. There was a purpose, and it's probably divine purpose. We just don't understand it in the moment. So once you rewrite that story and release the energy, you can move on and create, that future where you're free and you're learn that lesson, you gain that wisdom, and you can create a totally different future just because you don't hold on to that old story. It's not serving you anymore. So sorry guys, I kind of like burst all
No,
the
it's
that you
great.
guys
No,
mentioned.
and you know
It
what?
was good.
I want to add, because often, there's sometimes there are things that have happened to us, but sometimes, we have conversations with somebody, that hurt us, that we hold on to forever. I'm going to say, if somebody had a video like recording that conversation, what actually happened and what you remember happened are usually miles apart, because we usually embellish and embellish and embellish what we thought happened, and it didn't actually even happen.
What do they say? We see the world not as it is,
Yeah.
but as we are, something like this. That's the same. We
Yeah.
see the world as we are, not as it actually is. So based on your emotional signature at that moment, that's how you're going to interpret that event, that experience. Yeah.
And to recap, right? Kind of how do you reclaim your future is you release that energy, right? We've given you a whole list of things, writing a letter, right? Whatever it is that you need to close the door and close that chapter on what that happened, because again, that's in your past. So we're talking about this though, because so many entrepreneurs, so many network marketers that we work with, right? That are inside our community, or we notice, right? That are outside, they allow the past to continue to pave their way in their future. And it ends up hindering their ability to take action in their business, right? Maybe something you had happen to you in the past. You're like, I cannot do a live video because, 22 years ago in, Miss Smith's class, blah, 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 right? You name it.
Told me I have chubby cheeks and I shouldn't be speaking in public.
Yeah, like whatever you fill in that blank. But you guys, like at however old we are, trying to build a business, trying to do something great for our family, we are holding ourselves back by continuing to bring in the past into things we want to do in the future. So if you're asking yourself, man, can I do this? Like, how come I haven't been able to, be successful in the things that I'm doing? Do a little self-inventory and think, like, what energy am I giving to things that I can no longer can control? And how can I release that energy? Because let me tell you, those stories you're replaying in your brain over and over, like, stop. It's time for you to rewrite a new one. And what is this new one going to look like? Because like Kat said, you can actually rewrite how you wanted that whole thing to go. It might not have gone that way, but you can rewrite that. But now that things haven't happened in the future yet, the only thing you can control is now. How do you want that story? How do you want that story to go? Right? Like you get to decide. Everything is about you being able to decide. So if you decide today, I'm letting it go, I'm releasing that energy, I'm forgiving myself, whatever it is that you need to do to move forward, you can now reclaim your future starting now. It's like that simple. If you got value, if this was, something that resonated with you, give us, follow us, give us a like, a heart, whatever you do in this podcast, the buttons, I'm not sure. Subscribe. So thanks for hanging out today on the podcast. We will catch y'all on the next one. See ya.
Bye.